"Can I sit beside you?" the billionaire asked, never knowing he was her secret donor. At 12:47 on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Ethan Carter was counting the last $11 in his wallet when a woman in a crimson coat stopped beside his table. She glanced at the empty chair, then at Ethan. "Can I sit beside you?" Ethan looked up, surprised. His 8-year-old daughter Lily looked up too. The woman was elegant, confident, and clearly used to rooms where everyone made space for her. But Ethan had no idea who she was. He simply pulled the chair back. "Sure." The woman smiled and sat down. What Ethan didn't know was that the woman sitting beside him was Amelia Hart, one of America's youngest billionaires. And Amelia had absolutely no idea that the tired single father across from her had been quietly changing her life for years. In fact, he had been doing it without knowing her name. Ethan Carter had learned a long time ago that life didn't always give you time to recover. 8 years earlier, he had been a newly married man with a small apartment, a steady job, and dreams of buying a house. Then his wife, Rachel, died unexpectedly after complications from an illness. Their daughter, Lily, was only 2. From that day forward, Ethan became both parents. He learned how to braid hair from online videos. He learned which cereal Lily hated. He learned how to comfort a frightened child at 2 a.m., and he learned how to smile when his bank account was almost empty. Ethan worked maintenance at a downtown office building. It wasn't glamorous. Some days he repaired broken elevators. Other days he cleaned flooded utility rooms or stayed late fixing things nobody else wanted to touch. He wasn't rich. He wasn't even comfortable. But Lily always had dinner. She always had clean clothes. And every morning Ethan somehow found enough energy to say, "Come on, sweetheart, we've got a good day waiting for us." What Lily didn't know was that her father kept one promise completely separate from their household. Every month, Ethan sent money to the Hart Children's Recovery Fund. Sometimes it was $15, sometimes $30. Once, after receiving overtime pay, he sent $75. He never told anyone, not his coworkers, not his neighbors, not even Lily. The donation wasn't about impressing anyone. Years earlier, when Rachel had been sick, a children's hospital had helped Ethan's family when they could barely afford anything. Rachel's treatment had ultimately failed, but one pediatric nurse had once told Ethan, "Someone else's kindness helped your family get through this far. Don't forget that." Ethan never forgot, so every month he gave something back, even when he couldn't afford much. That Tuesday, Ethan had taken Lily to a small cafe after school. She had a science project spread across the table. Paper planets, colored pencils, glue, and a half-finished cardboard model covered nearly every inch of their table. Ethan was looking over a stack of bills. The electricity bill was due Friday, the car needed new brakes, and Lily had recently been told she needed another pair of glasses. He rubbed his forehead. Lily noticed. "Dad." "Yeah." "You're doing the forehead thing." Ethan smiled. "What forehead thing?" "The thing where you pretend you're not worried." He laughed softly. "I'm not worried." "You are." Before Ethan could answer, the cafe door opened. A woman walked inside wearing dark sunglasses and a simple crimson coat. 2 people near the counter immediately recognized her. One whispered, another pulled out a phone. The woman ignored them. She looked around. Every table was occupied except one chair, the empty chair beside Ethan. She walked over. "Excuse me." Ethan looked up. "Can I sit beside you?" He glanced at the chair. "Sure." "Thank you." She sat down. Lily smiled at her. "Do you like chocolate muffins?" The woman blinked. "I do." "Good. My dad says the chocolate ones are better when they're warm." Ethan sighed. "I don't remember saying that." "You said it yesterday." The woman laughed. For the first time that day, Ethan smiled without forcing it. They talked for nearly 20 minutes. Not about money. Not about business. Not about fame. The woman simply listened while Lily explained her science project, and Ethan complained jokingly about how impossible it was to understand elementary school homework. Eventually, the woman introduced herself only as Amelia. She didn't mention that she owned Hartwell Industries. She didn't mention the billions, and Ethan never asked. When they left, Amelia watched father and daughter disappear into the rain. She couldn't explain why, but something about them stayed with her. 3 weeks later, Amelia walked into the office of the Hart Children's Recovery Fund. She had founded the organization after losing her younger brother to a rare childhood disease. Since then, the foundation had helped thousands of families. That morning, Amelia was reviewing donor reports when she noticed one name: Ethan Carter. Monthly contribution, $20, then another. And another and another. She checked the previous year. Same name. She checked the year before that. Same name. She kept going. 7 years, no missed months. Amelia stared at the screen. Who is this man? Her assistant pulled up his information. Maintenance technician, widower, single father, 1 daughter. Amelia looked again. He's been donating every month. Yes, how much? The assistant hesitated. Usually between $20 and $40. Amelia leaned back. $20. The foundation received donations worth millions. Yet she couldn't stop thinking about this man, because $20 from someone wealthy meant almost nothing. $20 from a struggling father could mean groceries. It could mean gasoline. It could mean a child's new shoes. It could mean saying no to something your own family needed. Does he know who funds this foundation? Amelia asked. No, his donations are made anonymously. Amelia stared at the screen. Then she remembered the cafe, the tired man, the little girl, the warm smile. And suddenly she understood why his face had felt familiar. The next morning, Amelia asked her team to arrange a private invitation. Not for a fundraiser. Not for publicity, for Ethan. 2 days later, Ethan received a letter. He almost threw it away. He assumed it was another bill, but Lily noticed the logo. Dad, that's the place you donate to. Ethan froze. Where? The Children's Foundation. He opened the letter. It invited him and Lily to visit their new pediatric recovery center. Ethan almost said no. He felt uncomfortable around wealthy people, but Lily was excited, so they went. The center was enormous. Bright walls, playrooms, therapy rooms, a small garden filled with flowers. Lily's eyes widened. Dad. Ethan smiled. Pretty amazing, huh? A nurse approached them, then another. One mother thanked Ethan. Another father shook his hand. Ethan looked confused. I think you've got the wrong person. Then Amelia appeared. She wasn't wearing the crimson coat this time. She walked toward him slowly. You're Ethan Carter. Yes, I owe you an apology. Ethan frowned. For what? For not knowing who you were. She handed him a folder. Inside were years of donation records. Ethan stared. You kept these. We keep every donation. He looked embarrassed. Those weren't much. Amelia shook her head. You're wrong. She opened the folder. Your money helped keep this center running during months when we were short. Ethan swallowed. I just gave what I could. Exactly. Amelia's voice softened. You gave when you couldn't afford to. Ethan looked down. I lost my wife years ago. A hospital helped us when we had nothing. I couldn't save her. But I promised myself I'd help another family if I ever got the chance. Amelia's eyes filled with tears. My brother was one of those children. Ethan looked up. What? Amelia took a breath. The fund exists because of him. For a moment neither spoke. Then Amelia smiled. You didn't know me. No. You didn't know my family. No, you didn't know what your donations were doing. Ethan shook his head, and you still kept giving. Ethan looked at Lily. She was staring at him with the biggest smile. Dad, she whispered, you really did help people. He smiled, maybe a little. Amelia shook her head. No, Ethan. She looked directly at him. You reminded me why this foundation exists. A month later, Amelia returned to the same cafe. This time, she didn't need an empty chair. Ethan saw her enter and smiled. He moved his backpack from the seat beside him. It's yours. Amelia laughed. Are you sure? Of course. Lily looked up from her homework. You're the billionaire lady. Amelia laughed. I guess I am. Lily thought about it. Do billionaires still like chocolate muffins? Amelia smiled. Absolutely. Ethan ordered 3. And for the first time in years, he didn't count the dollars in his wallet before placing the order. Because Amelia had made a decision. She would cover Lily's educational expenses through college, not as charity, not as payment. But as gratitude. Ethan tried to refuse. Amelia wouldn't let him. You spent 7 years giving without asking for anything. She smiled. Let someone do the same for you. Ethan looked at Lily, then at Amelia, and finally nodded. Thank you. Amelia smiled. No. She looked toward the little girl. Thank you. And that afternoon, 3 strangers who had entered a cafe months earlier as completely separate lives left it feeling like family. Because sometimes the person who changes your life isn't the one who gives you millions. Sometimes it's the person who gives $20 when they desperately need 20 themselves. And sometimes the quietest act of kindness is the one that travels the farthest. Ethan never expected anyone to notice. But Amelia did. And years later, when people asked her what inspired the Heart Children's Recovery Fund to keep growing, she never talked about the billions she had invested. She always told them about a single father, a little girl, a cafe table, and a man who gave what he could when nobody was watching. Because true generosity isn't measured by how much you have. It's measured by what you're willing to give when you have very little.